an imposter. You shouldn't be in this job. This job is too big for you. You're not qualified for it. Well, what on earth do you think you're doing? Thinking about this promotion, you know you're not up for it. Nope, you are definitely an imposter. Now, is that a conversation I ever had? Ever? With any of my bosses? Or I should say, did they have it with me? No. Is it a conversation any of my colleagues ever had with me? No, definitely not. It is, however, a conversation I had with myself multiple times a day without fail. I would berate myself and belittle myself and undermine myself. I know they say keep your friends close and your enemies closer or something like that. Well, imagine the enemy is in your head. And for so many of us with neurodiverse thinking styles, the enemy is absolutely inside our head. And this is not just a neurodiverse thing. This is a very common phenomena, particularly among adult women, this thing called imposter syndrome. It is a source of great anxiety. If you don't believe in yourself, of course you're going to be anxious. So I want to talk about that, but mostly what I want to talk about today is 4 ways that might surprise you that artificial intelligence can help us ease this psychological burden, this anxiety burden somewhat. But let's take a step back. What is at the root of anxiety? I can only talk about my own experience. I had 4 decades in global jobs. They were leadership positions with a lot of responsibility in very high-pressured businesses, so media companies and technology companies that were moving very, very fast and very political environments. Let's not forget about all the office politics, and you always having to watch your back anyway. You don't want to be stabbing yourself in the back. Unfortunately, as ADHDers, which is my frame of reference, we do that. So I think that the source of anxiety often stems from fear. And it is this fear of being found out, this fear that you're not clever enough or smart enough. I knew my short-term memory was terrible. If I was going to stand up and make a presentation, there was a chance my mind might go blank and I would not be able to recall relevant facts and figures. There were definite gaps in my abilities that I was acutely aware of. My thoughts were always tangled. How can you communicate if your thoughts are all jumbled up and you just can't get them out? How can you do a sales pitch if your thoughts are parallel processing over there? So there are very real reasons, I think, why ADHDers and other non-neurotypical thinkers suffer acute anxiety. There's also, interestingly, a strong correlation between ADHD and introversion. So ADHDers are constantly masking themselves, trying to project themselves as something they're not. And in a way, with the introversion, you're sort of double masking. It's a double whammy. So we have this to overcome. How could AI help? Well, I approach it from the point of view of use AI to reduce the fear, reduce the friction, reduce the gaps, and just generally reduce the risk in everything that you do. So let's go through those 4 ways. Reduce the fear. Now, this could be the job you've been given feels overwhelming. It could be the size and the complexity of the job, or it could be that there are barriers to getting it done, maybe knowledge barriers, or there are departmental barriers that you're not comfortable breaking through. There are lots of reasons we can feel overwhelmed, and that isn't because we can't do the job. It's because it all feels a bit too much coming at us all at once. So this is AI's wheelhouse. AI is fantastic at being this full-time team working with you to make sure that no job is overwhelming. And this is certainly something I've found in the year to 18 months now that I have been deeply immersed working with AI, is I tackle new jobs not with trepidation, but with relish. Because my goodness, I have this team of big brains by my side and we cannot go wrong. I found that my knowledge, my problem solving and my creative thinking can be applied across so many different categories, different businesses, different industries, because I have the intelligence by my side with the AI brains. I don't need to be everything. I just need to do what I do well. So whatever your job, whatever the task, creating a workshop, doing a sales presentation, presenting to the board of directors, I don't know what your work entails, But I can pretty much guarantee that if you work with artificial intelligence, it can help you do some of the heavy lifting and take away some of that overwhelm. Number 2, removing the struggle. So we all know that ADHDers struggle with focus. We struggle with getting started on tasks, with overwhelm, too many tasks. We parallel process. People say it's multitasking, but it's not the same thing. For me, it's like I just jump around from idea to idea. I'm actually not multitasking. I'm just jumping around from idea to idea. So there are all of these things that cause great stress, personal stress, because we're trying to make our brains do things it doesn't want to do. We desperately need it to do those things. Please, brain, help me get started. Please, brain. I remember one night trying to crack the code on some consumer insights for a presentation, and I stayed in the office all night, and I did not manage it. Because every single time I go like, okay, this is it. I am now going to apply myself to this. There's no way with my brains and this information we cannot get this done. Just couldn't. It was like this anti-focus force field pushing me away. I don't know if anybody else suffers from that, but for me, it was so stressful. I couldn't get the knowledge out of my head into the real world. The way I look at AI here is use it to get started. Use it to prioritize. Use it to do the project plan for each of these tasks. You're really reluctant to start writing that report. You know you've got to do it. It's a deadline. Just ask AI to start writing it. And we're always much, much better when we are working with something that we can then edit and adapt as against that blank sheet of paper. So no more blank sheets of paper, no more procrastination, no more confusion over what you should do. Get AI to crack on and you do what you're good at while it starts to get the jobs done. Number 3, reducing communication gaps. Ah, yes, when you have a head full of tangle, and a head full of ideas. And also my tendency, I'm always thinking big picture. I'm always thinking with these sweeping conceptual ideas. So firstly, I might well have a problem expressing this idea clearly, making it something that is understandable. Secondly, I would get really frustrated because I didn't understand why people didn't understand it, because it was clear to me. Why wasn't it clear to them? Without, of course, ever really realizing that people don't hear things the way you want them to hear them. They filter it through their own expectations and frame of reference. And you could be like this, ships that pass, which was very often the case for me, just not on the same page. So there, and also complexity. When somebody asks me a question, I have to take 3 or 4 steps back to provide the context for the answer that I will eventually give. And of course, as you can imagine, many people run out of steam long before the answer finds its way out of my mouth. So yes, so reduce communication gaps. And of course, AI is absolutely brilliant here. Beyond structure and beyond writing, ask AI for a metaphor that will help you explain this. AI will give you a metaphor and help you flesh it out. Ask AI to create a mind map that you can use as a visual aid in the meeting, or a flow chart, or an illustration of some kind. Obviously, charts, numbers, graphs, all of that kind of stuff. Then there is another interesting angle to this. If you are acutely uncomfortable talking, presenting in public, and the forum allows this, you could even clone yourself. Yes, this is a real thing. You can clone yourself. There are a few platforms that allow you to post a recording of yourself, and it will create an avatar that will then speak in your voice, because you also upload a recording of your voice. You type the script, and it will speak the script. So you could even present your findings through your avatar. Why not? Hard to interrupt a video. I did one recently, and I had my avatar speaking 7 different languages. It was so impressive. I was impressed. I can only speak 1 language. It was wonderful. I was suddenly a polyglot. So yes, communication gaps. And of course, there are some amazing presentation softwares out there in AI that can instantaneously package all your thoughts into a beautiful, well thought through visual presentation. Tons of ways AI can help bridge those gaps, from message refinement down to packaging and presentation. And then finally, let's talk about reducing risk overall. I used to be so envious of people who could stand up in meetings and just ad lib and flow. For me, I had to wait for the moment, and I would be trying to formulate what I was going to say, and then it would sometimes come out as a blurt, maybe sound a little bit more abrupt than I meant it to, and people would look at me and then move on. Not the impact that I would really hope. And I used to be quite envious of these people who seem to find it just so easy. I did not find it easy. But AI is a fantastic safe space, almost. It allows you to explore your ideas. It will critique your ideas, be very objective if you ask it to be objective. It will tell you what needs changing, improving, where the flow is dislocated, where the idea doesn't make sense. It can help you with feedback. It can help you rehearse. So you're going into a meeting and you want to be prepared for questions that might be asked, and AI can actually serve up those questions and serve up answers that you could give. So there is so much you can do in this kind of judgment-free zone that is AI. So there you have it. There's 4 ways. They're all about reducing the anxiety and all about reducing the fear, but it's reduce the I can't do it factor, reduce the friction points, reduce the gaps in your ability to communicate all your brilliant ideas, and reduce the risk and the exposure that you might feel when you are presenting ideas in front of a group that you might not be comfortable with. Thank you so much for watching, and please sub. I would really appreciate if you would help me spread the word, because I think AI and neurodiverse thinking is a match made in heaven. I think it can help us level the playing field, not by trying to force fit our thinking into boxes, but by expanding on the things we do really well and assisting and supporting where we might need a little bit of help. It's a game changer. I really appreciate you sharing this with any fellow ADHDers you might know. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll chat soon.
Be me in the light of the dark, with a fire inside and a restless spark. No mold to break, no chains to flee. I'm bound to this truth. Gotta be me.